The Detroit Tigers sweep the Chicago White Sox, highlighted by a Spencer Torkelson walk-off on Sunday. We'll talk about that and so much more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, April 7th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Happy Monday. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. The Detroit Tigers could, in fact, be big contributors to your fantastic weekend. They sweep the Chicago White Sox to start off the home season at Comerica Park. Now an undefeated 3-0 in Copa here. Early on this year, they win 7-4, 7-2, and 4-3 over the Southsiders. My first thought, Sunday's game was a walk-off. So my first thought was a lot of screaming and loud noises, but how can you not root for Torkelson and really he had a moment like that was a big time moment in Comerica Park in front of the home crowd. Just absolutely awesome. A great way to cap off the opening home series, I should say, of the 2025 season. It is so awesome. I'm so glad that the adjustments he's making are working. And yeah, we haven't lost at home yet this year. And that's a pretty awesome stat. And like on top of that, game 3 specifically, Sunday's game was gonna be a tough one. I don't want to say it was a scheduled loss because it was still against the Chicago White Sox, with all due respect. So like, I don't think it's really fair to call with where the Tigers are at. There shouldn't be any scheduled losses to a team like the Chicago White Sox, but it was going to be an uphill battle. Like, you have Jackson Jobe making his second career start. You have a lineup that had Manuel Margot batting cleanup and Riley Green on the bench and Zach McKinstry getting a start against a lefty. Do you know how many people have to not be playing and you know the circumstances that this team has to be under for that to end up being the case? The bottom 3 in that lineup was Kriedler, Baez, McKinstry. I don't think that was the right order, but it was those 3 in the 7, 8, 9 hole. And like Martin Perez did really well. He was executing his pitches. He pitched a really, really nice game. Like, it's the White Sox, obviously, and that is a totally fair point to bring up. The expectation should be to beat the White Sox. I'm not trying to say it shouldn't, and it still should have been going into Sunday's game. But to be able, given the circumstances, to still walk out of that with a win is just awesome, because I was pretty content with just taking 2 of 3 around like the 5th inning. I was like, all right, this offense is not going to get going. We benched a lot of people, whatever. I'll take 2 of 3. And instead, they take 3 of 3. So let's talk about what went right. We're going to reiterate the Spencer Torkelson point here over and over, probably throughout the entire episode. Got on base twice this weekend as a whole, though, zooming out a little bit, not just focusing on the walk-off. I said got on base twice. He got on base twice in each of the first 2 games of this series, rather. So he got on base 4 times in the first 2 games, and then also hit a walk-off on game 3, had a home run this weekend. He just looks so strong and confident at the plate and in the batter's box. I think for the first time in my life, I was watching this game and I turned to my roommate and I said, you just have to get it to Torkelson, right? Like, there was 1 out, bases loaded. Just don't hit into a double play. Just make sure that no matter what, Torkelson is going to get an at-bat in this ninth inning with runners on base. And he looks so confident in himself. And it is translating to confidence in the fan base. Like we're all confident when he steps into the batter's box at this point. And what a far cry that is from the first couple of years of his Major League Baseball career. It's absolutely beautiful. As I said at the top of the show, how can you not root for him? And just after all he's been through on the field, and after all of the slander and doubt that has been thrown his way from the media like myself, I mean, it's just so awesome to see him thriving and doing so well so far this season. So and you know, big picture, that changes the depth of the lineup a ton. Like again, this was a game in which Manuel Margot was the cleanup hitter. Like if Torkelson looks like he did a year ago, this lineup without Riley Green in it on Sunday, I mean, I think most people would have looked at this lineup and said, like, this is a guaranteed loss. And the fact that he and Malloy and some of those other key contributors are having great starts to the year means it wasn't a scheduled loss. And I think that's an important thing, obviously. Speaking of important offensive contributors, Kerry Carpenter with a fantastic weekend, hits 2 home runs in one game to start off the weekend, one of which was against a left-handed pitcher. Absolutely beautiful. Also, we talked about this on Friday's show. There was a potential for him to start on Sunday, given just Perez's profile of being kind of a soft tossing lefty, and he did. Carpenter did get the start. He went 0 on Sunday, for whatever that is worth to you, but did get the start. Had one deep fly ball to right field, but was caught at the warning track, a little bit foul as well. So nice to see him, contribute against both sides this weekend and hit well as he continues to, but also just nice to see him get an opportunity against a lefty, and he did go over, but he didn't look completely overwhelmed and lost and like overpowered at the plate either. Was putting the ball in play. Like I said, still drove the ball as well. So solid weekend from him. Riley Green with one of the furthest balls I have ever seen. That's an exaggeration, but absolute tank this weekend. Crushed that ball. The metrics on it were ridiculous. It's one of the hardest hit balls by a Detroit Tiger like ever recorded. Now we only have like 10 years of data in the StatCast era. Right, so it's obviously not that the third hardest hit ball in the history of the Tigers, but still really cool to see. And yeah, absolutely clobbered it and knew it right away. So good to see that. I want to talk about Justin Henry Malloy, who was the leadoff hitter, I think, the entire weekend, if not definitely at least 2 of the 3 games. But I'm pretty sure he was up there at the top of the lineup for most of the weekend. He is so awesome. I love Justin Henry Malloy. He makes drawing walks like really cool with the bat flip thing he does, bat throw, whatever he does. Like he when he takes a pitch, it is confident, and he is just as excited and takes it as just as much of a victory for him over the pitcher in that one-on-one, only seen in baseball, true competition that happens every at bat. He is pumped and amped for taking a walk and lets the pitcher know that he's like again, like kind of bat flipping a little bit on walks. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I like it. I'm tweeting the gif out of him doing it every single time he draws a walk. It's awesome, and that makes him such a valuable leadoff hitter, right? That's what you want at the top of the lineup. I know a lot of people want speed as well because you want to get on base, be able to score a run. I totally get that. And Malloy doesn't really provide that, but pretty much everything you want in a leadoff hitter in terms of what they give you in an at-bat specifically, he provides, man. He has the power to hit the ball into the gaps. He even has the power to have, potentially 20-ish home runs if he were to play a full season. He's showing that he's a lot more than just a platoon hitter. Like, he's improving against righties, as we've already seen this year. And he works every count, man. He had one walk on Sunday where it was a 1-2 count, And the zone was filled all game Sunday. That was one of the reasons the Tigers had a tough time adjusting because they've taken so many pitches so far this season. And he was able to work the count back and draw a walk from a 1-2 count. And having that to start off a ball game, start off an inning is just so valuable. And I would not be surprised if we saw him at the top of the lineup card going forward, maybe even like permanently. It really wouldn't shock me. There's no such thing as true permanency with an AJ Hinch lineup card, but it wouldn't shock me if he was toward the top of the lineup or at the top of the lineup going forward very, very consistently. Let's talk about a few more things that went right, because there's a lot of them. Okay, we'll talk about the pitching. We haven't even really dipped into that yet. We'll talk about the few things that went wrong, and then we will talk stuff. We'll do all that and more right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. And that's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all religiously and rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training recovery. They're clean and transparent ingredients. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Also great for fueling, whether you're recovering after a workout or just need an energy boost. Their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout delivers real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off and more wellness tips. You can follow just.ingredients on Instagram. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping Game 1 of the series against the New York Yankees. Today, though, we celebrate a sweep at home to kick off the 2025 home season. That's like not really a thing. I don't know why I keep saying that, but good to start off 3-0 at home. Let's talk about what else went right from this sweep this weekend. Andy Ibanez defensively was fantastic this weekend, especially on Saturday. But I did want to point that out. He had a couple of really nice at-bats. Obviously, the walk on Sunday as well. Had a couple of like swinging bunts that led to hits. Good to see him just get in the box score in any way, but was really, really sharp defensively at third base. I think that's where we'll see him quite a lot this season. Notoriously, we've talked about for 2-3 years now how he's just grades out really well defensively going to his left specifically. So you can put him at third base, have him hug the bag a little bit more, stand a little bit closer to third base itself, and he's going to be able to cover a lot of ground still and still be a really effective defender. Also got some opportunities against right-handed pitching, which is a surprise and something we did not see very much of last year. One of which was a really, really big at-bat late in the ball game on Sunday, drew a walk. It doesn't look completely, overmatched, overpowered. Is always going to be better against lefties, but nice to see him get those opportunities and do have them be productive at-bats as well. Javy with a 3-hit ball game on Sunday. Do not scratch your eyes. Yeah, man. I don't think anyone is still like uber confident that this dude is going to be a really like high-end productive hitter ever again, really, for the Detroit Tigers. But that doesn't mean that there's still not some way for him to provide value. And that leadoff hit on Sunday was massive. And obviously, he gets out on the fielder's choice in the Trey Sweeney at bat, but that still is productive because if Trey Sweeney hits a ground out with nobody on base, then he is out at first base and does not beat that out and doesn't help lead that to a win. So all around, really solid performance on Sunday. Played a little bit of center field as well. We'll talk about that later. On the pitching side of things, you had Jack Flaherty, Reese Olson, and Jackson Jobe start this weekend. I thought it was kind of solid all around. We'll talk about Jobe in stuff rather than what went right. Kind of splitting hairs there, but Flaherty and Olsen. Flaherty goes 5 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Thought he was really sharp, especially later in the outing. Early on, I think he was kind of spraying the fastball a little bit, had a hard time commanding some of those pitches. I don't expect to see too many performances where he is walking 2 or more batters in less than 6 innings. So, I think that's just, maybe a little bit cold early in the season still, getting stretched out, et cetera, but still 7 strikeouts and only had 1 earned run to his name. It was a really, really solid outing. And then Reese Olson, 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. His command was all over the place, but when he was hitting his spots, he was still really effective. One of the things in this game that was pretty noticeable was still that the fastball was being put in play a lot. And that's something that I have really harped on Reese Olson for pretty much his entire major league career, is like, for the velocity that he throws that pitch, it should be much more effective in terms of swing and miss, but he does keep it on the ground. And that's why he has that kind of 2-seamer sinker type of fastball, especially that he throws to righties. I guess he really throws them to both, but that is something that was apparent in this outing. It's like, okay, it's not going to miss bats. It's going to get put in play, but it's still going to be on the ground for the most part. And it certainly was in this one. The slider's still great. Again, his command was kind of all over, which is why you see, 10 base runners in 6 innings. But at the end of the day, was able to buckle down and give a kind of a grittier performance and bear down and have a quality start still. 6 innings, 2 earned runs is a quality start in the eyes of Major League Baseball. And then just in general, the bullpen was fantastic this weekend, man. Outside of Kenta Maeda, this was a stellar arm barn performance over the weekend. Tommy Kahnle looked great. I guess I could really just go down the list. Everybody, again, outside of Maeda's performance, we'll talk about that here in a second, was great. And that's going to be the strength of this team. And that's something that I've said this before over the years on this show. Everybody focuses on what bullpens do when they have a lead. It's like that Jordan quote, right? Where he says, it's real easy to talk smack when you have a lead. The true testament is who talks smack when you're losing. I think Jimmy Butler and Luka Doncic have had different variations of that same thing, but that's kind of how I view bullpens. Like, everybody focuses on what they do when they have a lead. And obviously that is the most important thing, and that is what should be highlighted. But it is almost just as important to keep deficits where they are at. That is such an important part of being a reliever, and something that is completely not focused on by the general population and most fans. And it's something that this pen did really well, and has done really well, honestly, for nearly my entire tenure as host of this show over the last 3 or 4 years. And on Sunday, you saw it, and really so far this season as a whole, you have seen that for the most part be a really important reason that the Tigers find themselves in pretty much every ball game they've played so far this season. What went wrong this weekend? Well, as I just mentioned, we can kind of get this one out of the way. Kenta Maeda goes 1 inning, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, just 1 strikeout. He's on a short leash is really all I'll say. This was a very ineffective outing, as the box score suggests. He just had no command. The ball was all over the place. It was not going over the heart of the plate, missing out of the zone by a ton. The 4 pitches where he hit his spot did lead to the strikeout, and he had a really good whiff on a splitter in that at bat, but not a very good outing. The biggest thing that I will point out again is that the leash is short, in the sense that if we're talking by early May or mid-May, that this dude has just not put together more than 1 or 2 decent outings in a row, I think we start having the conversation of they're just going to eat the money and find a way to remove him from the roster, because paying that money lump sum and opening up a roster spot is more valuable than keeping it spread out and having him be on the roster. Now, I'm not saying that's a guarantee. Again, when he was hitting his spots, he still looked kind of decent. But I think we're probably in a scenario in which in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we're talking about how much longer he's going to be on the Tigers roster. Also want to talk about Ryan Kriedler. Had a rough weekend with the bat and in the field. Made a really bad read on a fly ball hit right to him on Friday's home opener. This is also a very similar conversation, but Kreidler's is more out of a case of necessity. Like that, they literally don't really have anyone else. They're not going to play Riley Green every day in center. It's not going to happen. So we can just completely move on. We don't have to talk about that. It's not happening. So what other options do they have with all the injuries? Not a lot. So I think that this is just a scenario in which like the Tigers aren't super thrilled about it. He has been a fine defender outside of the really rough play, obviously on Friday, and he is produced pretty much next to nothing offensively. They're just going to have to get through this period where they don't have anybody healthy who can play center field. And once that period is over, then I expect Kreidler to be sent down, and I don't expect him to be called up too many more times unless they're put in this situation without any center fielders again. So we'll see if they do just kind of grit their teeth and bear it the rest of this, or if it gets to a point where it's so unproductive, the production they're getting from him is so unproductive that that they maybe even go a different direction before then. But I think they're probably close enough on Vierling. He's taken some batting practice where they're just going to try to get to the end of the tunnel here. Okay, I want to talk about one more thing that kind of frustrated me from the weekend. Then we'll talk stuff and preview the Yankees. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing better than catching a Major League Baseball game live, the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. If you're looking for last-minute tickets, Game Time makes getting those tickets even easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as the game gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal right before first pitch. Game Time is also the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Tigers have some home games coming up, I cannot wait to rely on and count on Game Time to help grab my tickets that meet my needs. There's so much. You can view your seat before you buy, which is awesome because it's your exact seat. There's no surprises when you show up to the stadium on, I didn't pick the seat I wanted, or I had a bad view or whatever. There's so many great discounts and whatnot as well, as we've talked about. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, one more thing I want to talk about was just the offense against Martin Perez. That is just frustrating. I'm not saying it's the most detrimental thing in the world. That's a professional pitcher that does that still in 2025 to a handful of offenses. And again, that was not your A team out there at the plate. That being said, it doesn't make it any less frustrating to see a soft tossing lefty topping out at like 88 miles an hour, just slicing and dicing your lineup. But he's really good, man. Like, I don't want it to come across as like, oh, the Tigers offense was just terrible and Perez was just lobbing up meatballs all day. Like, he was dotting, dude. Go watch some of those at-bats again and watch some of the highlights from his outing. That is a guy that was locked in terms of painting corners. Cutter low and away to righties was a devastating pitch that was working all game. Cutter up and away to righties was working all game. Sinker low and in to lefties and righties. Honestly, like he was surgical So I want to give him credit, but also say that I understand the frustration behind the lack of offense if you were watching that game and you were like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Let's talk stuff. Jackson Jobe goes 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. I didn't have any major issues with this outing either. This is one, I don't have too much else to add on from what we said last time we talked about Jackson Jobe in Seattle, where it's like you see the flashes, you see why he is so highly regarded, you see the stuff being absolutely incredible. Right now, he can't throw his secondary pitches for strikes enough for hitters to actually consider swinging at them. You see the goofy swings when they're just like sitting fastball and they get a slider, right? And you see, okay, he was 5 feet away and still swung. Like you see the potential for the stuff. But on a consistent basis, he is always trying to chase with those, or he's just missing spots with that secondary stuff, with his non-fastballs. So hitters are just sitting fastball. And if they get something that's not a fastball, they're just taking. And they're like, all right, well, this is probably going to run out of the zone because it moves, 8 feet. So he's just got to improve on that. He's just got to be able to prove that he can throw those secondary pitches for strikes. And once he does that on a consistent basis, then he will be really, really, really good. And the stuff is too good for him to be in the minor leagues, man. There's like people that are like really critical of this kid 2 starts into his major league career. And I don't get it. Like he is, again, was literally the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball. Like this is, again, saying Sasaki, which I don't really count, but I guess prospect lists technically do. Like he is very talented. He will be very good. This is his 2nd career start. Verlander's ERA was 7, 2 starts into his career. Like Tarek Skubal didn't have the greatest rookie year ever. He gave up more homers than I think anybody in the American League in his first full season. Like people have to acclimate themselves to the major league level. There is growing pains with development. He will be fine. He should be in the major leagues. The Tigers have won both games he has started. He's not like playing them out of games. If he ever gets to a point where he's struggling so much that it is impossible to win, then we can talk about sending him down. But like, this is what is best for his development. He would get bored in the minor leagues. He would just dominate. And he wouldn't have to hit his spots to dominate. This is how you develop. This is how you make him better. So I'm excited for 5 days from now when he takes the mound again. Nick Maton getting a lot of reps for the White Sox this weekend. I'm not sure if that's a testament to Chicago's lineup or improvements by Nick Maton or maybe a little bit of both. Not really sure. But good to see Wolfie and wishing for the best for him always. Jake Rogers with the first back pick of the year this season was really cool to see. I love a good back pick. I'm just such a catcher enthusiast that love a good back pick there. So that was nice to see. Javy Baez with a crazy tag on Sunday, one of the greatest taggers of all time, as we're all aware, and did play some center field, didn't really get challenged out there, but that flexibility is something that will only come in handy for your Detroit Tigers. So, man, like this was just awesome. This was such an awesome weekend. I know it's the White Sox. Some people are listening. It's like, you should sweep them. Well, they did what they should have done. That's a good thing. They are 5-1 in their last 6 games. The Tigers are over 500 despite the fact that they got swept to start off the season. They were 0-3 after 3 games and are now over 500 only, how many games? 9 games into the season? That's really impressive. Again, 5-1 in their last 6. The offense has been statistically one of the better offenses in baseball, dog. Do you understand that? This team's like WRC plus, OPS plus, whatever stat you want to use, is like genuinely going into the game on Sunday was genuinely one of the better, like top, I think it was top 5 at one point this weekend, but like a top 10 offense so far. And like, I'm not saying that's going to last. I don't think that's going to last. Again, on Sunday, they had Margot in the cleanup spot. Like, I'm not saying this is a top 5 offense, but it's been good. and the pitching looks solid as we expected it to be. There was a walk-off on Sunday at home. Let's go take a couple of games against the New York Yankees. Vibes are high. The Yankees are 6-3 after losing an extra innings to the Pirates on Sunday. Their offense, you want to talk about a good offense so far, their offense has been crazy. You're talking about maybe the best offense in baseball so far, 9 or 10 games into the season. Obviously, the team that is most utilizing the torpedo bats, so we will get a firsthand look at all of that. I don't believe there's any Tigers using those yet, so we'll see what happens there. Aaron Judge is also on another planet, and I think we have to start having the conversation of like how good is he in terms of like all-time rank. I genuinely think we are seeing one of the greatest hitters, certainly in my generation, if not one of the greatest hitters to ever live. And that's not obviously just because of this season. That's a career's worth of evidence to back that at this point. And he has gotten off to an unreal start, leads the league in homers. It seems to be hitting one every game, is crushing the ball, is driving in runs with singles and doubles as well. It's not all just homers. He's been unreal. Want to also point out that the Detroit Tigers are moving the start times for these games. These were supposed to be the first evening games at home of the season. They have been moved to 3 o'clock for Monday's game and then 1 p.m. starts for Tuesday and Wednesday. We will see Carlos Rodon versus Casey Mize today, Monday, as you're listening to this. Carlos Carrasco against Tarek Skubal on Tuesday, and Max Fried against Jack Flaherty on Wednesday. I mean, I think you should go in there trying to win a series, man. Like, I don't really care who the opponent is. The Tigers have been a team so far this year that's been in every game they've played and have been in or won and made it uncompetitive every game they've played. And I don't think that changes with, the big bad Yankees coming into town. That should be the expectation. That game 2 looks mighty appetizing. Carlos Carrasco has not had a very good year. Has slowed down a lot over the last couple of seasons. Fan favorite, great dude, great story. But you look at Carrasco against Tarek Skubal at home, you should probably expect to win that, which means, just try and split game 1 and 3. And you're talking about a series win at home against the Yankees. And I think that should be kind of the bar. Let's go do it, baby. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping game 1, Carlos Rodon against Casey Mize. We'll see if Casey Mize can keep that hot streak going. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch you all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.